Okay, so good morning, everyone. I hope you are safe, your family is safe, you are doing good.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Rahul. So, at least everyone who is here, please fill the survey, please fill the poll that we have created. So, here is the poll link. Please fill it. So, any of you or probably your family members are tested positive, at least in this class, who are attending.
Sir, I know some of them, but because they
Okay.
are got infected, but they are not attending the class.
Okay. So, yeah, so ask them to take care. So I
Yes.
request everyone, if any of your group members are kind of suffering, please help them
Yes,
because
sir.
uh, I do understand. It will be hard, but this is how we have to support each other. So if any of your group members they are not probably feeling well, so please coordinate with them. Yeah. So please support them. Ask them. Okay. So don't care. Don't worry. So you guys will take care of. Anyways, we are following lenient grading, so don't worry about that. uh, we will try to keep it as lenient as possible, but just give your best so that uh, we have at least those who are putting significant effort, should be rewarded. Those probably not able to probably put enough effort due to several reasons, we still try our best so that they won't suffer. Okay. So just to repeat, everyone, those who just joined, please fill the survey form. Please fill the poll that we have created on the Google Classroom. So this will help us to, yeah. So this will help us to decide. Which grading
Uh,
policy we need to.
Sir, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Sir, one thing I wanted to just make clear, are we going to still give both of the choices as options to other students, or we are just going to decide based on the majority?
So let me
There was
discuss the options later. Let me first look at the different options that we are having. Then we can take a call whether do we have to keep the same or we need to modify it. In fact, I think most of you have already filled this form. So just repeat, I repeat. So those who haven't filled the form, please fill it. And let me share my screen and accordingly we can discuss it. Okay, so these are the two grading schemes I mentioned. So one is the first one where there will be no quiz, no INSEM further. And so if we count I mean, the portion which is kind of completed or about to complete it is 75%. So simply what we will do, we just scale it to 100%. So this is the option one. I believe it's clear enough. So whatever the performance, whatever the portion we have already graded or are just about to finish, we will keep it as it is and simply scale it to 100%. So there might be, in fact, I received some requests. So there are some students who think, probably they could not perform very well due to several reasons, but they should be given opportunity to probably improve their scores. So this is something, we are thinking, okay, so in that case, they can go for INSEM, and just improve their score rather than average score that they will be getting. Now they can improve the score. Another possibility could be, not possibility. Yeah, so what we have done, since we have removed quiz 3, So in a way, you can see it's already n-1 options, best n-1 that you're referring. So what we have done, rather than having a third quiz, what we have done, we will just take the maximum of the 2 quizzes that you had so far, and we just simply consider that. So it's kind of n-1 to you. So now I'm open for your questions, suggestions about these grading schemes.
Sir, in the second option, will there be any? I mean, that will be end sum, no?
Yeah, so it's INSEM, right? So in the second, we just added INSEM. So rather than, if you see here, so remaining 25% is scaled up in option 1. So
Yes, sir.
it is just simply INSEM, right? You don't want scaling. It just simply, you can appear in the exam and try your best to perform best.
Sir, and the second thing I want to ask that the form filled by the student, they have to, like, some student, let's say suppose 30 student fill to option 2 and the 70 student fill option 1. So the majority will be considered, or the student wise option will be considered?
No, we are not going to enforce majority, right?
So I mean, like, if 30 student fill the option 2, then the 30 student will give NSEM and the remaining will be.
And we can conduct INSEM. Those who want to appear can appear and improve their score. If you don't appear in the exam, what we will do, we will, as I mentioned, by default grading, if you don't appear in the exam, we will just scale your marks to 100%.
Okay.
What is the mode of enter? Like same MCQ?
Same MCQ.
Like, okay.
MCQs are probably little some filling the blanks type questions.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Sir, for now.
Question. Hello.
So if I look at the responses so far, it seems that like 60 people, approx 60 people opted for option 1. So option 2 is like 20 people. So I would say it's not less, it's significant. What we can do, we can have INSEM as well. You need to, okay, so
Sir,
so given that now we are going to INSEM.
Sir?
Yes.
So one confirmation. The 2 into maximum of both quizzes, that means whichever the 2 quizzes that we have already given, whichever will be having the highest, it will be made twice or
yes.
something?
So for example, in quiz 1 you have 9 marks. In quiz 2 you have 5 marks. So you will be kind of given 9 into 2. And that will scale down to 10. So kind of 18 marks.
I think it's 9% then.
Yeah, I mean, it will reduce to 18 to out of 10, it will be kind of 9 marks. So just for example, in that we had 2 quizzes, both 10 marks. One of them you get 9, another of them you get 5. So you will get 9 marks. Simple. Fine.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, is there any relaxation in the assignment 3 and projects? So because this is a situation in my home also, we have been tested positive, some of my members. So it is a little bit difficult for us to complete the assignments.
No, so that's what I said, right? Yeah. So I clearly mentioned, now there is no quiz, you have more time. Now there is no interim, it's kind of your more time. If you need more time in the assignment and project, I'm happy to give you. And in addition to that, as I requested, right? Usually the group size is 3 to 4, right? As I said, if one member, at least if some members in the group kind of suffering, I request other members to basically help you with this. So in that case, I understand your situation. So you just try to ask your group members, and I request your group members to help you in completing assignment 3 and the project, right? So that there won't be too much load on you.
So, but in our group, we have 4 members, and 2 of us are having some difficult situation in our home as well. So it's a request you to consider this also, because we don't think so we will be able to complete this on time as well.
So you guys suggest. What should we do? I try to come up with. As much as relaxation I can give, but I'm again open. Please suggest me what should I do. Should I scrap everything? Just in the course here. What should I do?
So we can have n-1 for an assignment. So if
Yes,
anybody
yes.
wants to attempt that assignment 3 also, they can, or if anybody feels that they have done good for 2 assignments, then they can just skip that.
Okay. Is can I see +1 or something if you're supporting this in the chat?
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. Like some students are not able to fill the form. So, what will be the option for that? The option 1 will be considered, or option 2?
Here I said right. So, if you're not appearing in the exam, by default, this one will be applicable.
Option 1.
Yeah, it's mentioned it. If you're not able to give exam, I'm not giving you 0 marks, right? I'm just scaling it to 100%. This is the best I can do, right?
Thank you, sir.
Sure. So, like apart from the 21 students who voted, like, basically, like those who attend does not depend on the school. They can still attend, like if they change their mind.
Yeah.
Or not attend.
No, they can change. यार अभी तो हम discuss ही कर रहे हैं, right? So we are just
Okay.
trying to find out best. That poll is mainly to understand. What you guys think, right?
Okay.
So now we are open to further refine it. I'm not saying these 2 options are the final. So like many of you now saying, so n-1 policy we can have in the assignment as well. I'm fine. Why should I have any issue if you guys are fine? So I think in that case, so is this fine, Rahul? So now what I can do, I can further reduce assignment to n-1. So kind of 2 assignments, if you're not able to complete assignment 3. So, the best of 2 kind of thing will be considered, right? But for project, I think, in that case, you can skip assignment, but at least try to complete the project, because project is significant and it's difficult for me now to, given that I removed assignment, I removed quiz, I removed INSEM. Providing any relaxation in the project will be difficult now. Is this fine with you all?
Hello,
Any
sir.
concern, comments?
Hello.
Yeah, Shubham.
Sir, I was asking that if I choose the option 2 and before the NSEM, I got some symptoms of COVID, then what will happen? Will I be eligible for option 2 or option 1?
Yeah, simple सी बात है. If you are not able to appear in the final exam, we are going to apply option 1 by default. Doesn't matter which option you have chosen at this moment.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. It's mainly we wanted to know whether you are which kind of option that you're preferring. If most of you are concerned, 100% of you said nahi, the option 1 is fine, then we do not need to go for option 2. But at least I can see that there are some number of, at least significant number of students who are asking for option 2. In that case, we can have both. If you are appearing for final exam, this will be applicable. If you're not appearing for final exam, this will be applicable. Is this fine with you, Shubham?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other doubt? So one changes I'm going to do. In fact, let me do right away. So now assignments will be, instead of 4 marks, it will be now increased to 6 marks, kind of scaled to 6 marks.
So 2 best out of 3. This looks like 1 best.
Best of 2 assignment from 3. There are 3 assignments, right? Okay. Is this fine now, everyone? Charges them.
Yes, sir.
Sir, just a general question, like dividing the students on the basis of these two grading schemes would create inconsistencies in the grading, right?
Yeah,
So
the
if
problem
you're,
तो हर चीज में है, but we need to find the solution, right? इसीलिए,
sir,
I mean,
even if
if
you're
I
grading on the curve after that,
if
then
I
it will.
no, the thing is, if I only impose this student will be complaining. If I only impose this, the student who are suffering will be imposing. So that's why we are flexible, right? I mean, now it is up to you which one to choose. I mean, just choose the one which is probably best to you.
So after my, I mean, the curve grading will be on the, like, the students will be divided into two groups, right? Then, and then they will be graded on the curve, or only one curve will be there. And
it's only one, right? This sum is 100. This sum is 100. So both are same. So where is the difference? I mean, this sum is 100%, right? This sum is 100. So we are going to grade based on your, I mean, how many marks you are got out of 100. Is this clear, Pallav?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions at all?
Sir?
Yes, Sudeep.
Sir, could we get the marks of the assignment 2 as well? Like we know the assignment 1 marks. For the if we know the assignment 2 marks, then we will decide whether we put effort.
So what we will do? So today is Thursday. We will finish the evaluation of assignment 2 sometime by next week. Is this fine? So that you have enough time to decide.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
So can you release all these scores, like the group presentations, if they are done?
No, group presentation I cannot release until all the groups are finished. But I assume, I mean, all the groups will be finished either today or probably by the next class. Anyways, the next class is the last class, right?
Yeah, okay, sir.
But again, I mean, it won't be too much difference, right? I mean, since it is just out of 3, and I don't think I have given less than 2.2 or 2.5 to anyone.
So what about the midterm evaluation of the project?
It's a 20%, which was earlier, which was...
No, of the project, midterm evaluation of the project.
That will be same as it is. It is not going to change. The project is as it is.
When will it be released? That is
when it will be released. So in fact, what we are planning, just to keep, just to better management, we are planning to have midterm project evaluation as well as assignment 2 together, so that both are evaluated together and we can release the marks again together for both. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, assignment 1 marks has not been released yet. So could it be released like by today, tomorrow?
Okay, so I will ask TS. I think the evaluation is already done, so I will ask them to do. Okay, so anyways, be assured that sometime next week we will release the marks of everything if it is not done yet. So we will release the marks for project proposal, midterm project, assignment 1 as well as assignment 2 sometime by mid next week. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Sir, just another doubt.
Sure.
Till what date will the assignment 3 and the end and the project will be extended to?
जितना तुम्हें चाहिए यार, कितना चाहिए बताओ. So until the course is over, we can extend until that time.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
So that is, if I'm not wrong, at least first week of May should be not an issue at all.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I just wanted to confirm one thing.
Yeah, sure. Yes, yeah, I know your case. So since you have not given mid-sem, I will come up with something for you.
Yes, other than that also, I just wanted to confirm one thing.
Yeah.
Here, I can see in the project rubric, you've put in 4 marks for project presentation. And we already have 3 marks for another presentation, that is group presentation. So is there a
group
difference?
Presentation is different, right? Group presentation is totally different that you give in the class. Project presentation is about what you complete the project and the presentation about that.
So is there going to be a proper presentation, or we are just
that we will have
to the slides?
Given given the, I mean, situation, pandemic situation. So probably we can evaluate based on whatever the video demo or probably whatever the presentation slides or whatever the report that you submitted. So in that case, we may not have actual presentation. We can take decision based on whatever the reports and all the supporting document you're submitting.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but it's a good question. We will probably provide more clarity on that.
Okay. Okay.
Any other doubts, questions? So does it sounds good then? Any
Yes,
doubts? Any issue, anyone? Okay, so then I consider this is fine with you all. So okay, so these two will be the grading scheme then.
Sir?
Yes.
So what would be the syllabus for NSEM if it happens?
Whatever has been covered so far.
So including the midsem also?
नहीं midsem वाला क्यों हटाएंगे यार? Everything. In term is everything, right? Simple. I mean, whatever has been covered from the beginning of the class. So it's better you said that. Let me write that. Let me share my screen so that you can also see.
सर कुछ बोनस पार्ट नहीं रख रहे हैं हम इस कोर्स में?
क्या बोनस दे दे बताओ
सर? जो भी आपको लगता है।
किसको दे दें बताओ यार, सबको ही दे देते हैं 5-5 मार्क्स, बराबर हो जाएगा।
हाँ सर, ये भी ठीक है।
सर एक चीज कंफर्म करनी थी।
हाँ बताइए।
सर ऐसे में रिजल्ट्स क्यों नहीं होंगे क्या? मतलब क्योंकि 2 इवैल्यूएशन स्कीम है, तो मे बी हम लोग अगर ये इवैल्यूएशन स्कीम के अंदर रिलेटिव कर दें तो?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं। स्क्यू क्यों होंगे? टोटल मार्क्स आउट ऑफ 100 है, स्क्यू हो रहा है तो होने दो यार, अपना कोरोना में तो स्क्यूड हो गई। एंड सेकेंडली सिंस टोटल मार्क्स इज 100 राइट इन बोथ केसेस, ठीक है।
सर मे बी हम लोग ऐसा कर लें कि एक इवैल्यूएशन स्कीम के अंदर रिलेटिव रखें।
नहीं, वो पॉसिबल नहीं है। वो एक्चुअली मुझे भी आई मीन आई कैन नॉट डू द मॉडरेशन फॉर दैट राइट। ये एक क्लास है तो इसमें 2 ग्रेडिंग स्कीम नहीं हो सकती, काइंड ऑफ 2 अलग अलग प्लॉट नहीं हो सकती। तो उस केस में आई नीड टू हैव द स्टैटिस्टिक्स फॉर होल क्लास एंड दैट इज ओनली फिजिबल when I give 100, I mean marks out of 100 like this.
Okay, sir.
Sir, the scheme is a bit unfair for the people who are willing to give the NSEM exams, because previously the people have scored on less syllabus. So if someone wants to do well in NSEMs, he will have to study the entire syllabus and do well in that.
No, why it is unfair? INSEM is always like that, right? It is not I am proposing कि INTERM जो देना चाहता है. INTERM is always like this, right? You always have option to go for option 1. Nobody is forcing you to go for INSEM.
Sir, but if anyone wants to improve his score, then he will have to like study the entire thing. Whereas someone else who has scored enough marks, like got high marks in the previous quizzes, he or she will not have to take the. He or she can actually take a break from studies, and they will basically save from the NSEM.
Here वही है ना, बताओ क्या करें मतलब बताओ. So you
can't we have like the maximum of 2, like max of 2 at last?
अच्छा, okay, ठीक है, वो कर देते हैं. I think it's a fair suggestion. So let me do so.
Sir, I think if people have scored better earlier, they'll get the advantage for that, no? There's no point in changing the scheme for that. Because if we do best of 2, then कोई बीमार भी है, that person would also feel कि grade के लिए करना ही पड़ेगा उसको NSEM. Because right now it is a gamble कि ठीक है, if NSEM goes bad, then your score will go bad. If NSEM goes good, then
the thing is, I mean, if you want to improve the score, so I think Divisa mentioned, right? That's fair, right? What is the best we can do? We can give an option, because here we are discussing for the people who could not give. They want to give, but they could not give. So uske liye, I mean, we are considering, okay, so whatever the marks you have achieved so far, we will scale accordingly. But if someone want to improve, right? I mean, theek hai, I mean, they should improve. In that case, now they have option, right? You will give in the maximum of either you achieve in the NSEM or
got it.
Or probably the scaling of, I mean, the previous marks.
Won't it force everyone to give exam? Much better.
Yeah.
I don't think it will force everyone to give the exam, because there are many people who have got full marks, or at least they are at the top 5%. So they don't really need to give the exam if they feel so.
Is this fine now? Any other comments? Is this fine?
Sir, but now so everybody will give the exam.
तो दो यार, कौन मना कर रहा है? Here we are mainly we are coming with this because
that is not a problem.
Sir, actually,
this is an implicit way of enforcing the exam only. This maximum of 2.
I am doing this because you guys asked me to do so, right? Anyways, I mean, not everyone can give exam despite they want to. For example, Rahul was giving the reason, right? And probably the number of students was giving. So they definitely don't consider it like those who want to give NSEM. I mean, those who want to improve and probably give NSEM, but they can certainly give. Probably they are not able to due to the circumstances not allowing them to do.
Sir, I would just want to raise some concern regarding this point. So because there is an issue, because this point is providing much more flexibility to those students who are not suffering actually, because we are giving them opportunity to sit for exam.
They should have enough. I mean, flexibility. Right? Those who want to give and improve their score, no one can stop them, right?
No,
I mean, yes, even though the person who has received 99 marks or probably 100 marks, 99 marks, for example, in the mid-sem or probably in 75%, I cannot stop him to gain remaining 1%, right? No one can.
I agree, sir. But sir, providing the maximum of it will give 2 chances, na? Because they can sit for mid-sem also, and if the score goes bad, I mean, it will be unfair for the students who are not, because they cannot give the exam because due to medical conditions they are not able to.
I mean, ठीक है. I mean, Kapil and Divisha and Usin, right?
Because we don't have any data. Because we don't have any data, sir, and because many students are suffering, sir, and due to health
everyone
reasons.
Is suffering. Yeah, I agree with you. That's why we are discussing the different grading scheme. That is the reason, right? And that is the reason I keep adding the points which you guys are saying. So tell me what I should do.
Just an idea. Hello.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. So what you can do is you can create two buckets. One is with the old distribution, that is without the end term, and one is with end term. So you can provide relative according to those buckets.
No, I cannot do so. I already told this to probably someone. I cannot do so. There will be only one bucket, and that bucket will be created based on your score either through this or this. Simple. I cannot have two buckets for the two different distribution.
Yes, sir. So only thing is the maximum now. So you are giving 2 chances for that student. That is quite unfair.
No one can stop him, right? No one can stop him.
No, they are allowed to sit for EndSem. But for example, if I just sit for EndSem and I'm just hoping that I will score much good marks, and suppose I just land with some very bad marks. So I have the chance that I can consider the bad marks or the normalized score of my past evaluation. So I'm having 2 chances, but that is not given to the student who is suffering from problem and that is forcefully not able to give the exam. So that maximum is actually not fair.
There's 2 different things. The student who are going to have EndSem is not the one who is probably suffering most, right? The student who are not able to give exam, that is the suffering most, right? Here we are mixing 2 different things. I'm not commenting who performed how in mid-sem or probably earlier examination. So this is what they have performed, and that will be scaled down throughout the semester. No one can change that, and that is why probably the people who have performed better in mid-sem, they should have an edge because they have probably performed better, and now so they have the flexibility either to appear in the final exam or not. It is their call.
Sir, also the people who
problem is not, sir, that they can appear. They can appear, surely, I agree, because they should give given a chance. But getting the maximum is giving 2 chances.
What is wrong? I'm not able to understand what is wrong with that. Why they should, if they are able to perform better than their mid-sem, why they should not be given?
No, they should be given. They should be given, but they should be given only the chance to perform EndSem, and that marks only we considered, whether they are bad or good. But then
what he's saying is
we can have only consistent uniform grading, right? We cannot say किया तुमने पहले दिया था अब तुम अच्छे. How I will determine whether how I will determine whether they have performed better or not? What threshold I can choose? I mean, it's very subjective, right? No one can enforce that. So I think it's be realistic if you can suggest something which is feasible.
I think I'm not able to convey the thing that I'm saying, sir.
So what is the problem? What is the problem exactly with having one of them only? The earlier one that you had proposed? Like instead of max, if we just take one.
I mean, some students suggested, right? Now, I mean, earlier, for example, you, Oshin, you scored say 70 out of 75 previously, but in the in-term, you just probably performed not well. So now your probably remaining 25% will be based on in-term, which probably less than that you will get out of after scaling. So that's why Divisha, I guess, mentioned.
Exactly. That's how it is done otherwise also, right? If the course was normal, if EndSem goes bad, then the grade has to go bad, right?
That's why if you're all fine, I can remove this. I mean, so Divisha, you are the one, wait a second. So Divisha, you are the one who requested this. So can you counter or I should remove this? I don't have any personal preference, right?
So you can remove it. If everyone is if people think it is unfair, then you can remove it.
No, you need to counter it, right? I mean, you had valid reason, I can see that. But I mean, if
Sir, I mentioned this point.
Sir, my reason was, okay, go on.
Okay. So I was saying that it should be maximum of the 2 because previously the quizzes and the whatever quiz was conducted, that was on lesser syllabus. So this is on entire syllabus. So that is already a disadvantage to the student that they will be studying the entire syllabus. And it is a very high weightage, that is 25%. So they will be considering the entire 25% weightage in the EndSem. Whereas other people who had scored maybe 14 out of 15 in one quiz, their marks will be scaled up very high. So Kapil did not talk about that advantage that someone got already because of the cancellation of NSEM.
No, I agree, but still, if you're getting chance to sit for NSEM, then you have to perform well. But I don't know. I just put my concern. Rest is on sir, like whatever he decides.
Basically, the point is, earlier, like we all were in the same state of mind, but now, like different people are in different state of mind. So chances are those people who are not able to give NSEM because of medical condition, so it'll be unfair for them as they are not in a proper mental state or physical state to sit
because
for
my mid-sem marks are also just touching the average, but currently now I'm not in a condition to sit for NSEM. And not me, there are like very large number of students who are in a bad condition, so they are not able to like.
So that is why instead of giving 0 marks, we are scaling it, right? That is why we are not giving them. So look, I mean, how you have performed, we are trying to probably that what reasoning I have to justify what marks I have given to you. The only reasoning, a simple reasoning could be, I mean, okay, so how you have performed so far in the, I mean, the component which has been finished so far, I mean, I can only give according to that, right? What other reasoning I could have?
Yes, sir, that is fine.
So,
this is fine.
Sir,
Maximum
to focus on the point
unfair.
that you have put, it is up to us which distribution we want, right? If we don't want to sit for NSEM, that is our decision. And if we want to sit for NSEM, it is our decision.
Exactly.
So it is up to us. So it should not depend whether it is scaling or not scaling.
Exactly.
It is on us. So if we are doubting our own decision that we won't be getting good marks for NSEM, then don't sit for the NSEM.
Exactly.
Exactly, sir. Only the maximum part is causing trouble.
Wait a second. I think Meet is also saying that.
Divisha, should I remove this? Divisha, do you have any problem with this?
If someone is taking the risk to sit NSEM, then they should take risks. Like not risk because they want to sit for NSEM, but they should not be two chances that you can sit for NSEM also, and if you get bad marks, then you can opt for normalized score also. That would be like quite unfair, I think so.
So Divisha, can
in
I
that
remove
case,
this?
I will reconsider giving an NSEM because I will obviously be doubtful about giving a very high weightage exam and then screwing up my marks, right? Because I may have a respectable average marks right now, but after I give an NSEM because I want to give an NSEM, I might be getting a 7 or even lesser.
So you can have a 4 for that. Sir, so simple. One thing what we can do is people can give NSEM, but they have to say that they want to be considered or not considered. If they don't want to be considered for scaling, that is their choice.
So Meet, I mean, every student want to have high marks, right? And with this point, you are getting high marks. With this point, you're already getting high marks.
Exactly.
No, so what I'm saying is, like, if they want to give NSEM but not be considered, like I want to give the exam, but I don't want to consider my marks in my final result.
If you want to give NSEM,
this is before the exam, not after the exam. These are the marks that will be there. I am talking about without considering the marks at all. I just want to give the exam for the sake of exam. I am telling that before even knowing the marks, I am telling that I don't want to include those marks.
Sir, but in that case, won't it be advantageous for those who already know their mid-sem marks?
यार वो तो हम सबको ही बता रहे हैं ना, मिड सेम का भी सबको बता रहे हैं, क्विज का भी, इसीलिए क्विज का भी आज बता रहे हैं।
मिड सेम तो सबको पता है।
तो वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, जो आपने पॉइंट रखा है बट वो वैलिड नहीं है फिर उस लॉजिक से, क्योंकि जिसको ऑलरेडी मार्क्स पता है वो ऑब्वियसली नहीं सेट करेगा।
तो मत बैठना यार, who is forcing you? मत बैठो।
Yes or not, I am not saying about that team बैठो नहीं बैठो, but just that maximum part seems to be like better.
ठीक है, लो हटा दिया। So Disha, do you have anything to say here?
No, sir.
Sir, I think that maximum scheme was better.
अब बताओ मैं क्या करूं यार?
Yes, sir.
You can have a poll for that.
Sir, maximum was better.
Yes, sir.
Maximum was better.
I don't know why people are having problem with that.
I think, sir, people should be able to defend it if they're saying that maximum scheme was better.
See, I am telling maximum is not good because if someone is already suffering from COVID and is not able to give the NSEM but has already received poor marks in the previous components.
Yes, sir. There are people.
There can be many reasons. Their family was already suffering. There are many more reasons of not getting good marks earlier. But now you are giving yourself a choice, not to them.
You are also
so if you are considering it that way, then the only way that you can actually give everyone the benefit of the doubt that by giving larger windows of the grade, like the average and then plus minus, it won't be standard deviation, it will be more than that. If you give that, then I think everyone will be happy, because ultimately everyone is concerned about the grade, right? If you think someone else can score higher than you by the choice that they're making, then what you can do is you can only relax the windows of the grades that you can do, because otherwise everyone will complain, either this party or that party.
Sir, the class is being recorded.
Sir, I think there will be like
putting the class on the YouTube.
So maximum one thing should be there. So जिसके मिड सेम अच्छा नहीं गया उसको चांस है एंड देने का, पर अगर नहीं आया एंड सेम में तो उसके पास
ठीक है.
नहीं हुआ.
So now I reduce the syllabus for in term to half. Is this fine now? अब बताओ. अब maximum कर दें, कोई दिक्कत?
No sir. Maximum is still an issue, right?
No sir. Now the maximum is more trouble because syllabus is half. So
I think what I'm trying to say is कि एक बार आपने option दे दिया है कि मतलब कोई भी बंदा, if he has chosen one option, then he should be able to stick to it. It's your call before choosing, but if you have made a choice, then you have to stick to it. You cannot get best of both worlds.
Exactly, right, sir. Exactly.
If the students are choosing कि they want to give the exam, then it's your call. अब exam आपका कैसे जाता है, that is none of our concern. So I think
the advantage that
I would like to state a point. I would like to state a point on this statement is that we are trying to enable the person who is suffering to be able to get score better, right? We cannot say that okay, you have chosen it, it's your choice, your fault. According to me, if we are going for the maximum one, it will actually help.
Nishkesh, for that sir has also said. For that also, sir has said कि if let's say you get sick before the exam, then you cannot sit. Then we'll just by default choose the option 1. But you cannot say that I have chosen the option 2, and then based on my marks, I'll decide, sir, whether I want to be included or not.
And if the person was already having some poor marks and wanted to give a exam sem to get better marks, and the same case happens, and is not able to perform well in the end, then again the better will be applied, right?
Okay, so Nishkesh and everyone, please.
Sorry, sir, just one more point. So, Nishkesh, so with your point, let's consider one person is having poor marks and is able to give NSEM and is considered for both. And for another case, a person is not able to even sit for NSEM because of COVID. So that would be unfair, right? He also has poor marks and even the other person also has poor marks. So it should be your option, like what you want to choose and not on your marks. The output of your marks should not be considered then.
But maximum will be an advantage for you, not for him, right?
So, ठीक है, सुनो. So I think I heard all of you, and I think all of you have some valid reason. I'm not denying that part, but the reason we are discussing these grading option only because the student who are suffering and not able to give exam. It is not about who want to give and improve the exam. That is not the first preference. First preference is the only students who are not able to give exam due to medical reasons, right? Or probably their family members are suffering. So for them, this is clear enough. Other thing is my priority too. I cannot probably help them. I mean, what exactly they want, but still I want to help them. That's why I now reduce the syllabus to half, right? And I agree with probably, I guess Meet was saying, right? If you're giving midterm, you know, right? Whether you are ready for that or not. If you're giving interim, you know the consequences, how prepared you are. If you are prepared, if you are confident, just give it. If not, I mean, just take this, whatever the scaling that you can give. Because before this, I mean, there was at least not that much severity of the COVID effect, right?
Sir,
so you could have performed as you could, and the remaining
this would not have been a problem if it wasn't 25% weightage. What Meet said would have been correct if it was like 10% weightage maybe. But it's very high.
75% you have already performed, right? So as your score will be, I mean, accordingly, right? 75% if you already perform. I mean, this, if you have performed like this so far, I mean, yeah, so remaining course or probably the overall course grade will be accordingly.
Sir, I have a doubt, like in that point, like lecture 1320, sir, if you give NSEM exam, then only marks of phantom. So for that person, like midsum won't be considered, NSEM will be considered, and the marks will be scaled. Is that what the point is?
It means that, so if you give the NSEM, so you won't get this scaling of 75%. You'll give this 25% based on what you score in the intern.
Okay. But still for that person, like midsum will be considered, like he'll be graded on 100 directly.
Yeah, all are same, right? I mean, remaining 25% is same.
Yes, sir. So no, I got a bit confused. I thought like midsum.
Yeah, sure. Is it clear now, right?
It's clear.
Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for your feedback. And I believe it's a chicken egg problem. We cannot make you happy, everyone, right? So in that case,
one last doubt. Midsem was supposed to be of 25%, right? Not 20%.
नहीं ये तो हमने बाद में डिस्कस किया 20 कर लिया था. So that is 20.
It is 20. Hello?
Yeah, me.
Yes, sir. Like at the end of any term, we provide like all the marks together with all the averages and all. Like that can be expected in this week, right?
Next week, sometime next week.
Yeah, from this week to next week. Yeah. This Thursday to next Thursday.
Yeah. So whatever all the evaluation, whatever all the tasks you completed, like I mean, for exams you already have the marks. For assignment 1, assignment 2, project proposal, and the midterm project, you will get it.
Okay, so thank you.
So just to re-clarify that the NTEM syllabus is what is the syllabus for that? Like
I mentioned here, right?
Yes, it is that only. Okay.
Yeah, it's already mentioned here.
Yeah, thank you.
So just above it, the entire syllabus is also written for NTEM. 2 lines above it.
कहाँ पे?
The first line.
Actually वो पहले से लिखा हुआ था, so you can see it is already. ठीक है? Okay. Okay then, thanks everyone. So who will be presenting today?
Me, Dipankar Kansal.
Okay, so Dipankar, I made you co-host. Please share your screen. Who is the next group?
Sir, group 36, sir.
Please tell
sir,
me.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, we are group 34. Our presentation was on Tuesday, so it is rescheduled to today. So, sir, when will... Sir, group 34.
नाम बताओ.
So, group 34. Group 34.
You will be presenting. What is your names?
Sir, Muhammad Sajil Khan, Shekhar Shukla.
Who will be presenting? Sajil, is that you presenting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll present.
So I made you co-host. You can go after this. Who is the next group?
Okay.
Group 13.
Tanya?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I made you co-host. You can go after that. Who is the next
group? Group 36, sir. Gaurav Sharma, yes, sir.
Okay, Gaurav, I made you co-host. You can go after that. Who's the last group?
Group 38, Mayank Joshi.
So please finish your presentation in 10 minutes. I will hard stop you if you go beyond 10 minutes. So please don't, don't basically bother about that. I will hard stop you after 10 minutes if you won't finish. Please finish within 10 minutes.
Okay.
So your time starts now. Please start.
Hello all. We are group 14. We are presenting construction hazard identification using information retrieval. Our motivation behind this is construction sector is the second largest sector of employer after agriculture in India. Despite of being second largest employer sector, 80% of construction sites are yet unsafe. If we compare some general statistics, India has 20 times higher death rate as compared to Britain. We have gathered some general stats. 38 construction workers die every day working on sites. 137 deaths in 2018 reported only in Gujarat. Diseases like dermatitis, musculoskeletal disorder, respiratory disease are seen in workers working on construction sites. Our basic problem statement is help construction sites managers to schedule activity, provide relevant information to predict risk, and establish safety countermeasures, ensure behavior-based safety management. How to achieve this goal? We are going to use case-based reasoning. It is a process of solving new problem based on the solution of similar past problems. Boolean retrieval model. It is used by many IR systems these days, but limitations of these systems is that they do not classify information at each steps and thus prevent to establish link for hazardous activities. Now I'm going to handle over to Sudeep. He will explain about existing systems.
Hello all. I am going to explain about the existing system. It generates queries automatically. It performs retrieval and provides search results with timing and location of risk factors. For proper functioning of the system, we have to first determine the similarity. For this, we have to firstly calculate the similarity index of each factor between current condition and accidental condition. If the data values are of the numeric type like temperature, then we are going to use the formula that is SI is equals to 1 minus A minus B divided by A, where A is the condition value at the current site and B is the condition value at the accidental site. If data values are of the non-numeric type like month, then we are going to use the formula SI is equals to 1 minus A dash minus B dash divided by A dash. After calculating the similarity of each factor, we are going to multiply the weights to the similarity and sum them to get the total similarity. To calculate the similarity index, we need a database system, which will be provided by the PMIS. PMIS has abundant information for managing construction projects. It also has the benefit of minimizing additional data input by using developed system and database. It lacks information about extracted factors, related coordination and objects. For these drawbacks of PMIS, we will be using the commercial BIM program. Next. Commercial BIM program provide two programs, AutoCAD and Graphisoft. These two programs are used to design the building blueprint, which will be provide us with the volume, length, coordination, etc., which can be easily extracted from the program. These programs provide us tools like GDL, which provide us the 2D and 3D workspace with simple drag and drop. Also with this, we can easily modify or edit the design at any time, like giving the color to a wall and a sector and many things. Now I'm going to hand over to the Akriti for further.
Hello, so I would be explaining retrieval system framework. So it comprises of three phases: the input phase, the data processing phase, and the output phase. Next. The input consists of influence factors like work process rate, cost of construction, work type, building type, occupation type, date, age, etc., along with their weights and an accident case database. These factors differ with safety planning phases and construction site conditions. Analytical hierarchy process analysis is done to acquire weight values of each factors, and these values are used as indices of weights in the information retrieval module. Also, the accident case database is used to search similar accident cases by comparing queries based on construction site conditions. Next. The data processing involves three modules. These are the BIM drawing module, extraction module, and the information retrieval module. The BIM drawing module forms 3D oriented parametric model that has geometric property values of objects. The extraction module extracts the objects from the BIM drawing. The export function in commercial BIM program is used as an extraction method. Extracted objects and information corresponding to the influence factors are combined and sent to information retrieval module, where the information retrieval module determines type of retrieval method using BIM property values. Queries are generated and converted into internal representations, and indices are calculated by comparing accident cases and internal representations based on the construction site values. Lastly, the similar accident cases are ranked as output through similarity calculation process of information retrieval module and are provided to safety managers. Each case provides coordination and remaining period of risk factors by combining objects extracted from the BIM drawings. Now I would like to hand over to Dipankar.
Good morning all. Today I'll talking about novelty and feasibility of the system that we are proposing. So one big limitation of the proposed system is it does not take all safety measures into account. Like if new hazardous case arrives, then the system does not work well as this system based on previously seen hazards. So let's talk about a novel system that will add case-based reasoning to the current system. As discussed by my teammate, case-based reasoning alone has some limitations, but by adding it into the system will resolve the problem of newer hazard case detection of some extent. That is the hazardous not in our database gets tracked using other cases that can lead to these hazards, and thus risk gets mitigated. Also, in case of less or no input, our system still provides some relevant info to the construction site manager, though with a lesser prediction probability, but saving even a single life is worth. So now we have to have a challenge to combine such systems and make sure the system is feasible. So let's talk about this in detail. So now we have short-term feasibility, long-term feasibility, and mid-term feasibility. In short-term feasibility, we have to research about the various hazardous cases from the website. We can use crawling in this case, and crawling further use distributed systems to help these crawlers. And at the end of the year, we have a great database with us. So now in midterm, we can now reduce crawling as we have enough data from the website. And now we can add more practical data to our database and create our own database. And we have to add hazards on regular basis in this database. And now let's talk about long-term feasibility. So in long-term, we have enough data from the website. So at that time, we can stop crawling or maybe use few crawlers. And this reduces the cost as we are now using less distributed computation. And after that, we can say that our model's efficacy greatly improved because we have enough data. And as we have enough data, our system gets robust.
Hello.
Any questions?
There's a question in the chat.
Okay. Questions in the chat. Please respond to that. Next group, please present.
Hello, sir. Is the screen visible?
Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. This is group number 34, and we are presenting you with the project title of Visual Swipe. So we want to develop an information retrieval system with zero to little physical interaction between the user and the device, as right now we see that only the audio inputs are being considered in that department, but it also requires you to give the signal from your hands or whatever other physical parts of your body that you can use to give the signal to the system. So we want to develop an information retrieval system with zero physical interaction that would greatly benefit the amputated and the paralyzed people of this world. So now I'll, for the project goal, I'll let Shekhar go ahead.
So in our project goals, we firstly plan to learn the word prediction from the iris movements of the people. And then we would train a machine learning model, specifically a deep learning model with English words as targets and iris movements as inputs. And then the training will be done by recording the iris movements of the people in a 2D graph corresponding to the word that is given to them to spell out. And this can be achieved using a physical setup, which can be then scaled to a regular electronic devices like smart glasses and phones. And then basically we can prepare the graphs of nearly every word in a popular dictionary, popular English dictionary. Then by only observing the eye movements of the paralyzed and the amputated people, we will be able to predict the word that they're trying to feed into the system, and thus make suitable queries for any IR system.
So the closest existing system that we have from where we derive the motivation for the project is the Neuralink that is being developed by the Elon Musk. So in it, sir, as you have seen, there was this recent video of a monkey being trained so to play a game. So in that particular instance, the neuron signals from the motor cortex of the brain were used, and so due to limitations of that particular system being developed on humans, we sort of drifted to this type of system where the iris movements can be taken so as to generate the inputs for the IR system. And so the limitation of the current existing system of the Neuralinks is that so they interpret the brain signals using invasive methods. The radiations that they go into the brains, and they may cause some seizures or epilepsy to the people that undergo these type of procedures. So therefore, so this is the limitation of the system, which we in our system are trying to remove by sort of and developing a visual system from we are trying to remove this inefficiency of the system by taking into consideration the iris movements of the people. So now I'll let Nishchal explain the novelty part of the project.
Thank you. So building on from the limitations of what you talked about just now, I'll talk about the novelty. So this is the first time that somebody is trying iris movements to in order to incorporate into an IR system. Some efforts have been made to run some kind of rudimentary functions on computers, but this is the first time it is being utilized in an IR system. This can give scope for production of some new manufacturing devices, such as like a sunglass or a smart glass, which already do exist, but these can be built, as the next point mentions, this can be built smart glasses, which can be linked with smartphones and stuff for such as query retrieval. Also, what we need to enable is through internet of technology, we can enable it to connect to other devices in the house and be able to control them with only our iris movements. So for that, obviously, an English words to iris movement dictionary will have to be created, and this can provide a great application in research, which can be used by students and researchers to develop other projects as well. And it has a great potential to be used as an emergency system in the short term that we'll talk about in the next slide. So talking about the feasibility in short and middle terms, for the first thing that we'll have to do is decide on the best technology and the procedure to be able to do this. This is obviously a complex task, and it will have to be decided what is the best technology to track it and how we can make efficient use of the resources that we have currently. The second and the most important point is that this can be utilized for emergency situations for now. So while building a dictionary and everything will take time, what we can do for now is develop some short kind of signals, some very few signals that we can utilize. So for example, if you have an intruder in your house currently, if you have to call the police, then there's obviously the danger of being heard by someone, heard by the intruder, and this can cause potential damage to you in that tense situation. So what this would enable is just to be able to use your iris to call the authorities, the police, the ambulance, etc. And this would make the process more feasible and quick. In the midterm, we'll have to take into consideration what kind of dictionaries can be developed, what are the most commonly used words in the language, and how we can build on that. So instead of building an entire dictionary, we can just make use of the most common words that we usually use in queries or in the commands that we need to transfer to other systems through IoT, and build a dictionary for that. Next slide, please. Then talking about the long term, the long term remains more ambitious, so to speak, because developing an entire dictionary would be challenging. However, I still believe as the technology process and the research advances in the subject, we can be able to expand our basis and be able to incorporate most of English language into the image and apply better image algorithms. The best sensor positioning technology always advances with times. Computers were in big rooms in 1970s and now they're in chips in 2020. So by 2050, 2060, whatever that time frame may be, we'll be able to incorporate a large set of words into the dictionary through sophisticated algorithms. And the last point just is that if Neuralink can do it with image brain signals, I'm pretty sure that we can certainly make use of the system by tracking iris movements. Thank you.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
So questions in the chat.
Yes,
please,
yes,
next
yes,
group,
sir.
share your screen.
Sir, we have to address the questions in
the
like, sir, audio form or like in the chat form?
In the chat.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Next group, please start.
So my screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are group number 13, and we are proposing a system, 11it, which we believe will further blur the lines between what's real and what's virtual. Okay, I'm sorry. I think my laptop hung.
Actually, you have to click. It won't work by key.
I tried that.
Maybe try without presenting it, just the half screen.
Does this work, sir?
Yeah, I can see the screen. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. Okay.
No issue.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. We are group number 13, and we are proposing a system, 11it, which we believe will further blur the lines between what's real and what's virtual. Technology is advancing at a phenomenal pace. Something which was impossible years ago is very common in today's world. One such example is the video telephony. We can talk to and see any person irrespective of their physical location. But can we further add something to this? Can we talk to a person from the past? Can we live in a moment from the past? Well, in reality, it is not possible. But our proposed system tries to make it as real as possible. But firstly, why are we thinking in this direction? People connect to what they see and experience. They love being a part of a story, be it real or virtual. Bringing the events and characters from your past to life will help users in feeling more connected to their history. Thus, our system, 11it, proposes to build a system where you can have a full-fledged conversation with any person in any setting with the help of virtual reality. Just wear your headset and you can see the person, ask them personalized questions, as well as experience and even from the past as if you were a part of it. Now, what are the closest existing systems? Well, in October 2019, Paris's Louvre Museum announced Mona Lisa Beyond the Glass, a VR experience with an aim to let visitors be within the universe of the painting and discover the various intricate details through interactive design, sound, and animated images. In the year 2017, Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles joined hands with Microsoft HoloLens to allow visitors to experience one of the most famous car race, Le Mans race, and also see closely the components and working of the car, which won several of these races, the Ford GT40. So what were the limitations of this system? They were very close to bringing objects to life and giving users an experience of a lifetime, but these were limited to inanimate objects. We extend this idea to people with our system. We are able to have a proper conversation with a person. We have gone to the museums, read about history, etc. But with our technology, we aim to bring that history to life and its characters to life. Such a system can be used in museum or even in schools for a better understanding through visualization. Like, just imagine how cool would it be when Albert Einstein comes to life and you discuss with him one of his wonderful discoveries. Okay, over to Nandini.
The novelty present in our proposed idea is we are going to build a QA system which will give replies about the famous person's life as a person himself or herself would have given, thus helping us to interact with the people from past. Secondly, it involves the generation of interactive and educational communication through VR plus IR techniques. And to our best of knowledge, we didn't find any similar working system. Let's go through the overview steps. We'll start from collecting data regarding the bio of different famous people, then building a QA system out of it. Then we'll extract the images of these people. Now, to make the query compatible with the model, we will convert the speech into text. And similarly, we will also convert QA model output to speech so as to make an interactive communication. Next, we will generate synthetic media using images plus QI model and shifting it to a VR environment. The last step involves the evaluation of our system.
For our short-term goals, the first task that we'd want to accomplish would be to collect enough data on the life history of different historical personalities that we'll be targeting. For this, we'll be using existing sources of data like Wikipedia, biographies, and other documents and storing them in a structured way for retrieval during user query. We'll also need to store the images of these popular historical people in the similar manner. The next important part is to make sure that the user can interact with the system using their voice. For this, we'll need to build a speech-to-text model to convert user queries into its textual representation. This textual representation will then be used to retrieve the information from our database. Once the answer to any query is retrieved from the database, we'll then be converting that back to audio format. Next slide. For our midterm goal, we want to map the audio output that we get from the initial phase into a visual representation. For this, we'll train a model to map each audio unit into its corresponding VSIMs. The sequence of these VSIMs will be masked onto image of the character that we're interested in. We'll then stitch together all the picture into a video so that we have a video corresponding to the stream of audio that we generated previously. To give the user a nice experience, we'll move this synthetically generated media to an AR environment. Next slide. For the long-term goal, we plan to extend our media to VR environment to give the user a better feel of a real conversation. For this, we'll need to include the body movement of the character we generate based on the content that is being spoken by them. For this, we'll use tools like Blender to generate 3D model for human body and then train models to generate the body movement based on the sentiment of the content. Next slide.
System evaluation. We broke our task into two parts. First is testing of QA model and the second one is synthetic media testing. For evaluating QA system, we will compute F1 score and ROG score, which are widely used for evaluating QA systems. Other than this, we can also do exact match. Next slide. For the second part of evaluation, we will take user feedback to evaluate the interaction. Apart from this, HEART framework and centric media metric could be used for measuring user experience and happiness respectively. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much. Any questions, please ask in the chat. Next group, please share your screen.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. A very good morning to everyone. I am Pushparaj and along with me are Aishwarya, Gaurav and Vishal. We are from group 36 and the topic that we have selected for our presentation is medical information search using Google Class. Next. So before we move on to the problem statement, let me first introduce you to Google Glass if you don't know already, because it plays a major role in this system. Google Glass is a brand of smart glasses. Now, what makes it different from the normal glasses? It is that it uses a head-up display as its lens. So what is a head-up display? A head-up display is any transparent display that presents the data without requiring users to look away from their usual viewpoints. The information displayed is like it is done in smartphone-like hands-free format. Wearers communicate with the internet via natural language, voice commands like we do with our smartphones nowadays, like OK Google or Hey Siri. A touchpad is also located, as you can see on the image. A touchpad is located to trigger any action. Google Glass allows user to control the device by swiping through the interface on the screen. It has the ability to take photos as well. You can see a prism is attached, which acts as a projector to project the images on the screen. So now Aishwarya will talk about the problem statement and advantage of a system. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Coming to the problem statement, medicine has become impersonal because doctors and other healthcare providers are talking to patients, but then turn to a computer to review, record, or upload data. With Glass, they can still do these things, but while making eye contact and addressing patients face to face. Using Google Glass, healthcare providers can run a full check of visual symptoms and vital signs while still focusing on the patient. Next. Moving on to the advantages of Google Glass in healthcare, Google Glass can be used in virtual medicine by doctors and other healthcare providers to remotely check patients. This will be helpful for people living in remote areas having limited access to medical care. It can be used during surgical procedures to consult with other physicians and share the critical information with providers nationally and internationally. It can provide immediate access to content-based medical records and generate patients' diagnostic images. Google Glass, if connected to a content-based image retrieval system, can allow medical staff to search for information and go through the patient's medical history while attending them. Next. Some already implemented content-based image retrieval systems are as follows. First, IBM's QBIC, Query by Image Content. It is one of the first well-known information retrieval systems which provides application of computer vision techniques for image retrieval and solves the problem of searching for digital images in large databases. Second, PhotoBook, which is a set of interactive tools for browsing images and its sequences. This query tool differs from those in standard image databases as they make direct use of the image content rather than relying on text annotation. Third, Viraj. This engine expresses visual features as image primitives. And lastly, Candid, which is a comparison algorithm for navigating digital image database. Next.
Okay, so we'll be seeing the implementation part now. So it uses the retrieval system called the Paradise, and it is used as the backbone of the application. So the main thing which is used is the REST API, and so by the REST API we mean that it can interact using using the HTTP request. So moving on to the next slide. Yeah, so the architecture of the Paradise is like is the first is Caption Web Service, which is responsible for searching images by keyword and using the listening framework. And then after that we have the Different Web Service, which is responsible for the content-based image retrieval, and after that we have the Fusion Web Service, which is responsible for integrating
or integrating the result from the multiple sources, and then after that we have the compound figure service, which is used to link between
बीच में बुला लेंगे, ऐसा करते हैं कि डिलीट की बजाय बीच में बुला लेंगे
parents
मास्क के साथ.
And so the last one is used as an abstraction. So it can be used again the access between the two parties. So now Vishal will be taking over.
Now coming to the application part. Firstly, the application get started by saying OK Glass Search Paradise. Then the Google Glass activates the camera and showing the preview. Now user can take a photo by just tapping on the touchpad on the side of the glass. Once the photo is taken, user can also add spoken keywords if he or she wishes. After that, the photo is uploaded to Paradise and the request string including keywords, the link to the uploaded image and the number of results is formed and sent to the Paradise services. The Paradise services searches visual features contained in that uploaded images and the 10 most relevant results are sent to the Glass. Glass will create visual cards containing the results images with their caption. Next. There are several areas for improvement. Sensitivity. The system needs to be less sensitive to lightning environment so that the search results can be improved. Speed. We can also make this application usable by medical staff in routine work by improving the speed and ease of interaction with the Google Glass. Evaluation. A better evaluation needs to be designed to explore the behavior of the overall system in a realistic setting. Clinical uses. A user study involving physician needs to be carried out to ensure the benefits of such a system on information search in clinical situation. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks. So probably last group, please go ahead.
Sure, sir. Okay, so we are group number 38 and our project title is Taking Down Poachers Using AI-enabled UAVs. Poaching is a world-known problem that every forest and national park faces. It is one of the main reasons for a rapid decline in population and extinction of wild animals. In Africa, due to bad enforcement of hunting laws, thousands of rhinos and elephants were hunted for their horns and ivory. This led to a sudden as well as a sharp decline in their population. The Bengal tiger in India is also endangered to extinction due to illegal poaching. Laws are there to prevent poaching, but the problem is that they are not appropriately implemented at the ground level. Most animals tend to follow the same path during migration. There are various hotspots in the migration routes where they gather, wait for drinking water, or places where two or more migration routes merge. Poachers tend to prefer these hotspots due to abundance and variety of animals. So we'll target these hotspots to identify poachers using our AI-enabled monitoring system and inform the respective authorities if there is any suspected activity. The main aim here is to make effective and efficient use of sensors and thermal cameras to track these activities. So these two images shows migration routes of two animals, which are Alaskan caribou, and in the Masai Mara National Park, this shows of a zebra and a bison. And here we can see that in various seasons, these animals follow a different route, and most of the time they follow the same route.
Now let's have a look at the goals of our project. First, we need to identify the hotspots, that is, where animals gather during their migration route in search of food and water. Then from these hotspots, we find the potential places where there are high chances of poachers' presence. And after detection of poachers, we have to alarm the local authority for appropriate action. Next. In order to achieve the goals, first we need to develop an AI system for data collection purpose using drones. Now to identify the hotspot, we will use the heat maps collected from the drones. After identification of the hotspot, we will develop ML models for identification of the poachers. Next. So the major challenges in this are, so basically difficult terrain and varying altitudes of UAVs can result in smaller object size in pictures and hard to detect. The motion of UAVs makes the motion detection of humans and animals difficult. As we need real-time detection and warning system, which is extremely difficult since we have limited computation power and internet in the fields. Next.
Only AI considered each frame of video as image and used a set of labeled data collected for training the model. They have used thermal infrared cameras for capturing the images at night. They were able to achieve a precision score of 0.42 and a recall of 0.37 on a test dataset of videos for prediction of poachers. It turned out that the model was performing better for detection of large and medium-sized objects, but it failed miserably for smaller size objects. In our case, to improve the performance for smaller objects in the future, we expect pulling the results of video frames and incorporating motion will be beneficial. The second paper we reviewed was of the researchers from University of South California. They built a spot system to detect poachers using infrared video feeds from drone. They use image classification and object recognition techniques to detect poachers from infrared feeds. They trained a CNN model to detect animals and poachers despite their small size in video feeds. And this is one image in which we can see the images of elephants captured using drones.
Yeah. So our project is basically divided into 3 phases. In the first phase, we are doing data collection. Obviously, we cannot plant the cameras all over the region that we are monitoring, since that is not feasible. So what we want to do is we want to determine the hotspots that are the main focus of poachers and the migratory routes also. So for that, we need to collect the data of the migratory routes of different species and the timings as well. And we are using UAVs or drones for that. In the next phase, we are using AI to find the hotspots based on the data collected in the above phase. And high-risk locations will be marked as hotspots, and we will use thermal vision camera to get the heat map of the location. And these cameras will be installed at the places that are suggested by our AI system based on the hotspot and the migratory routes. Slide, please. In the last phase, we will use machine learning and deep learning models, for example, YOLO, to identify the humans and animals and differentiating between other humans as well as poachers using the heat map and the video footage fed by the drone itself. Once the system detects some some poaching activity or poachers, it will report the situation to the respective authorities so that they can manually have a look at the footage and verify the same. After confirming their identity, security forces will be sent to take the necessary actions and prevent the poaching activity. That's the main goal. Next slide, please.
So like we focused on mainly on 2 deep learning approaches for our task. The first is RCNN based approach. So RCNN, that is region based convolutional neural networks, have been used for tracking objects from drone mounted camera for a long time. So like it can be also be used for object detection and classification. So RCNN works as like given an input image, RCNN extracts regions of interest, that is ROIs, from the image and classifies the type of object within those ROIs based on classifiers like SVM. So in our case, our RCNN will be helpful in effectively differentiating between the poachers from the local people and the tourists. Poachers generally carry guns, sharp objects, and other material. So RCNN can identify these objects using the ROIs that it has formed and classify these people as poachers, while others are tourists and normal people. Furthermore, it will also help in identifying the migratory routes of various animals so that we can place our cameras at the appropriate locations. Next slide, please. So the other approach is the YOLO based approach. YOLO, that is you only look once, is another other popular algorithm for object detection and classification. It is a relatively faster approach so that it does real-time object detection. So it will perform it performs also better in case of smaller objects. The approach involves a single neural network being trained from end to end, in which a single photo is being given as input, and the model predicts bounding boxes and class labels for each bounding box directly. The techniques operates at a speed of 45 frames per second to a maximum speed of 155 frames per second for speed optimization. So in our case, YOLO is helpful because it can process real-time data fed by the drones. The drone's footage may have objects only in a few frames, so we have to process the data fast. Therefore, the high processing rate of YOLO can be very useful in our system, so that our system doesn't miss on some poaching activities. Next slide, please.
So what outcomes do we expect? So our model will be able to use heat map and imagery data to identify the hotspots and then differentiate between humans and animals. Accordingly, our model will report a suspected case to the authorities. It will be available only to the wildlife and trusted authorities. We plan to give only license-based access to our systems, so no poachers can get access to our system. There are mainly three benefits of our project. It will reduce the illegal poaching. Secondly, it will create a sense of fear in poachers. And lastly, that data collected from cameras regarding the migrant routes can be used for wildlife documentaries and studies. Next, we see the estimated return on investment. Although the investment cost is decently high, but biodiversity is priceless. Our proposed idea has the potential to stop illegal poaching and prevent numerous species from getting extinct. Apart from that, the use of these installed cameras can be used for studying wildlife, and these footage can be used in wildlife documentaries. So we see it as an one-time investment with long-term benefits to both nature and us. So this makes it a feasible solution to our problem. Though initially we plan to implement it on a small scale in some specific hotspots to analyze the effectiveness of our system, so we can see the change in species population and number of poaching activities code to evaluate our model. Next.
So feasibility. So in short-term perspective, we will try to focus on large object detection only, like detecting elephant, giraffe, etc. And also, instead of complete forest area, we will focus on grasslands for minimum obstructions and comparatively easier for detection tasks. Next slide. And for the long term, we can remove these constraints, and we will now focus even on the smaller animal detections like deer, fox, etc. And also, instead of grasslands, we will expand to mountains, areas of tall trees, and other difficult terrains. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions from others?
So, I want to ask that drone will not be able to capture the footage from a long distance above the ground because of the trees and the leaves. So, what are the plans in this case?
So we are using drones in the grassland areas and other areas as well, and we are also using fixed cameras to plant in the regions where drone monitoring is not possible. So we are basically first determining the hotspot regions, and we are planting our cameras there. And drones we are only using for scheduled surveillance, and they will have a fixed route on which they will surveil the region.
So a mic could be very useful in your case because it can capture the audio like.
Come again?
Microphone.
A microphone.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right.
Yeah, right. You're right. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yes.
And regarding search question, that is the biggest challenge with the drone. Like in our case, the biggest challenge with the drones is again that it can't fly at a low altitude. So like it has to capture the image from a higher altitude. That's why we are first identifying the major hotspots from the drones, so that the cameras can be placed such that the drones don't have to capture all the footage, and the footage can be easily captured through the cameras installed at those positions. Also, the animals at those hotspots would be in an abundance. Therefore, a lot of image can be captured at that places. The drones
Also,
have.
battery is one issue,
Yeah.
and so even that battery wala issue can be solved with a fixed camera.
So I had one query. Like initially, when you said like with drones will capture anything, like is there a plan to like work with point cloud data to map all these trees? So tomorrow, like even if the cameras like are occluded by these trees, like that can be used for basically removing the occlusion or projecting the image again.
Yeah, so like the camera like there can be some changes in the migratory routes, and some of the cameras can be rendered unimportant at some situations. So like that's why we have planned we will look at the migration routes from time to time, so that the places of the cameras can also be changed. Also, we have also planned to make some algorithm to identify the path of the animals, so that the cameras can be applied at the particular position where we feel that where the model predicts that there can be abundance in animals, and the footage can be obtained clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
Okay,
everyone then. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.